Thanks for joining us tonight. I'm Kyle Clark.
I'm Kim Christensen. We have new details tonight about a pair of deadly stabbings in Aurora. Court documents obtained by 9 News Investigates say a man who called 911 to get help for one of the victims was put on hold. 9 News reporter Spencer Soysher joins us with that. And Spencer, it may not be exactly that simple.
No, the city of Aurora says it's possible that the man who called 911 hung up after hearing a greeting telling him to stay on the line while they were assisting other callers. But there are a couple of scenarios that could explain how a priority 1 call like this could end up on hold. A worker at a restaurant on Colfax was headed home from work when he saw something strange.
It's 11505 East Colfax Avenue. There's a car on fire. Okay. And I think there's a guy passed out in the alleyway as well.
This audio is from that man's call to 911. You can hear him trying to help the man in the alleyway.
Yo, are you okay? Dude, you okay?
Then the guy who called 911 realizes this is not related to that car fire.
I don't know if he's bleeding. He has a bunch of blood all over him, though. Hey, wake up, dude.
According to an arrest affidavit, the first time he called 911, he was, quote, placed on hold and was not able to speak with a dispatcher at that time. Aurora 911 says he may have gotten a greeting asking him not to hang up and remain on the line. The affidavit says it was just 3 minutes later when he called a second time. That's what you're hearing now.
As well, I'm gonna go check on him real quick. Let me just grab some gloves.
Court documents say he walked back to work to get some latex gloves, then walked back and observed the man who was stabbed and had collapsed. Aurora police say Ricky Roybal Smith stabbed that man to death along with another unhoused man in Aurora on that same night. According to the affidavit, he was stabbed approximately 15 times.
No, he passed out on the street.
The city says it's also possible that because the man called 911 to report the car fire, his call may have been pushed down in the queue. That's because Aurora already had first responders at the car fire. They didn't know a man had been stabbed nearby. The affidavit says the man who called 911 also called those first responders over to help.
Okay, is the firefighter helping at this point?
Yeah, he is.
The city of Aurora says they have enough call takers and Aurora 911 is fully staffed. The suspect in this case, Ricky Roybal Smith, is charged with first-degree murder. Spencer Soysher, 9 News.
New tonight, a man from Aurora is accused of killing his common-law wife. Police say he called 911 to turn himself in more than a day after she was shot. Phil Etchu is now in custody, facing charges of first-degree murder. Police say they got that call late last night, where Etchu claimed he shot her in their apartment off Chambers, a few blocks north of Mississippi. They tracked him down at a bus stop nearby. That's when police say they learned the shooting happened Saturday morning, about 38 hours before he called 911. Aurora police found the victim inside the apartment. The trial is set to go on as scheduled for a former dentist from Aurora accused of poisoning his wife, even after one of his lawyers was arrested on suspicion of arson. James Craig is charged with first-degree murder in the 2023 poisoning of his death, Angela. While in prison, he was accused of tampering with evidence and trying to solicit the murder of witnesses in the case against him. That's when his first attorney withdrew from the case, and Robert Working and his wife, Lisa Fine Moses, took over his defense. Within the last few weeks, Working was hit with a weapons charge, and then he was accused of setting fire to his own home that he shares with Moses.
To have this many problems with one case, that's awfully unusual, really off the charts.
Working is withdrawn from the case, and another attorney has joined Moses in his defense. As of now, jury selection is set to begin Thursday.
Strong winds came through parts of the Denver metro area this afternoon, knocked down a couple trees on one street in Centennial. One landed on a house and caused quite a bit of damage. It's about the same time that a 66-mile-per-hour wind gust was reported at Centennial Airport. There are no reports of injuries from all of this. It did get zesty out there, Kathy.
Yes, gusty thunderstorms, gusty microburst thunderstorms, where the base of the cloud is so far from the ground that when they start to collapse, instead of rain, comes out as wind, and that wind can be damaging, dangerous, and ferocious like we saw today. Temperatures were in the 90s this afternoon. We've cooled back a bit. It's a nice evening. Thankfully, the wind has let up for most areas. Those of you in Parker, Centennial, out at DIA, still a little bit gusty. We've got a train of moisture coming into Colorado, shifting a bit to the east, and that will be the focus area for some stronger over overnight storms. I am watching a new cell that just popped up in Weld County and gone severe. Severe thunderstorm warning here for this cell that is sliding toward Fort Morgan outside of Raymer and Grover. The potential for damaging wind and hail is there. This warning out until 10:15. Those of you in Wiggins, Weldona, and Fort Morgan, be on the lookout. That storm is headed your way. The big weather story is the dome of high pressure coming in. So warm, in fact, National Weather Service already issuing a heat advisory for Wednesday when we're expecting triple-digit and record high temperatures. Comfortable evening, though. A warmer day coming up tomorrow. Weather headlines, we'll check the radar one more time, give you the Tuesday storm outlook, and talk in detail about that record high and heat advisory for Wednesday.
New tonight, a man has died after falling into the water at Chatfield Reservoir. South Metro Fire was called out about 4:20 this afternoon to search for an adult last seen on the water on a paddleboard. CPW says the man was with his kids, when a strong gust of wind knocked them in. They say a person in a nearby boat was able to get the kids out of the water, but not their dad. They say he wasn't wearing a life jacket. Crews used an underwater drone to find his body. They recovered it before it got dark. Tonight, an investigation is underway after 3 fires started within 45 minutes along Denver's Highline Canal.
9 News reporter Rachel Krause is along with that. And Rachel, one of those fires damaged a business.
Yeah, no one was hurt, but some of the folks working in the business complex at Parker in Mississippi were forced to evacuate this afternoon after the building caught fire. Traffic came to a crawl along Parker Road this afternoon after crews responded to a fire that was in the grass and spreading quickly.
A call came in at around 1:37 of a fire along the canal that then spread into some cottonwood trees and then into the building at 1181 Parker Road.
Brian Willey with South Metro Fire says everyone was able to get out okay and crews were able to get it under control. But the building and several businesses inside took a hit.
That fire did affect a back balcony along a decking and balcony along that building and then into the attic of the building.
The fire here was one of 3 along the canal, all within a mile and a half of one another, within just 45 minutes. The cause of those fires are under investigation.
Unknown if they are connected, but they are all within a short distance of one another, and again, they are suspicious in nature.
Along Parker Road, people were able to get back into their businesses within hours of the fire. Some places are dealing with smoke. Others have damage more severe. Many here just grateful this wasn't worse. South Metro Fire and the Arapahoe County Sheriff's Office are investigating. They say right now they have no suspects and no motive. Reporting live in Denver, Rachel Krause, 9 News.
The Trump administration is taking back funds for EPA programs to plant trees in neighborhoods that need them for cooling in the summer. These are places known as heat islands. 2 years ago, under President Biden, the EPA awarded environmental justice grants to plant trees in places that are unusually hot compared to nearby spots. Places like Denver's Globeville neighborhood. But the Trump administration canceled more than $1.7 billion in grants and contracts that they said were related to DEI and environmental justice.
When you have so much purpose and momentum behind your project, having a hit like that of $375K that you can no longer expend is just, it hurts the organization, hurts the neighborhood.
An environmental group out of Pueblo has already signed on to a class action lawsuit against the EPA, arguing that those cuts to the federal funding were illegal. Planned Parenthood patients are being turned away in Colorado and across the country as the Trump administration cuts off Medicaid patients from getting medical care at Planned Parenthood.
It's devastating news for our patients and for everyone on Medicaid across the state and across the country. It's very clear that Planned Parenthood has been forced to suspend our services to people who are enrolled in Medicaid and use Medicaid for their insurance.
About 25% of patients at Planned Parenthood use Medicaid for services other than abortions, things like cancer screenings, birth control access, or preventative care.
What I think is most troubling for all of us, and it's very emotional, is how much of an attack this is on people in Colorado who use Medicaid for their insurance.
The change comes after President Trump signed the so-called Big Beautiful Bill on Friday. Up until last week, Planned Parenthood did not accept Medicaid for abortions. Last year, though, Colorado voters passed Amendment 79 that codified abortion care in our state, opened up an avenue to allow Colorado to cover the procedure under Medicaid. Planned Parenthood says it's still working to gain clarity about whether the new federal rules make that portion of the state's amendment null and void.
It's the start of a new work week for many employees at Safeway who have spent the last several weeks on strike. The union reached a deal with Safeway over the weekend. UFCW Local 7 says they agreed on pay increases, fully funded health care and pension benefits, and no cuts to retiree health care. The union says Safeway will terminate all temporary replacement workers, and striking union members were guaranteed their jobs back if they returned to work today. The strike started more than 2 weeks ago, and by the start of July, workers at 46 stores across Colorado were off the job. There is no word yet when union members will vote to finalize the deal. A retired English teacher called Steve on your side after she tried selling a bike on Facebook Marketplace and instead was scammed out of $2,000 on Zelle. It started when Susan Winery listed a bike that her husband doesn't use anymore for $100. A man messaged her saying his sister wanted to buy the bike and gave her a phone number to text. The texter asked if Susan had Zelle, and Susan asked her to talk them through it. She got an email she thought was from Zelle saying she needed to deposit $500 to activate her account. But it didn't work, and the emails kept coming.
You're going to basically send me the $500 to establish the account, and then I'm going to give you $6. The back of my head knew the whole time. Don't ask me why I played into that, but I did.
Experts warn that fraud is pretty prevalent on Zelle, and you should never send money to someone you don't know.